not a lot of people knew about. This is before the internet, so a lot of crazy research must have had to go down in order to find these people.
It tells the story of a group of white separatists waging a race war against the United States government.
What is up? Drive-By Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaze.
And today we're checking out the new thriller, The Order.
Does terrorist group yours have a name?
In the book, they're called The Order.
Defeat. Victory.
Defeat! Victory! Defeat! Victory!
The Order is the story of a series of bank robberies and car heists frighten communities in the Pacific Northwest. A lone FBI agent believes that the crimes were not the work of financially motivated criminals, but rather a group of dangerous domestic terrorists. So this film, I feel like, came a little bit out of left field. I know that people were discussing how much they enjoyed this. I think this film came out like middle of last year. It's not a super recent release, but of course we're still going to cover it here on Fresh Releases. But this was one of those movies where I know that when people were talking about Nicholas Holt's successful 2024, this was a movie that kept getting name dropped alongside Nosferatu and of course Juror Number 2 or Juror Number... Is that a Juror Number 2?
That is correct. Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking of any number on the jury besides the actual number that it was. But yeah, anyways, I thought that this film was definitely, I feel like it came out of left field. There wasn't maybe advertised as much. I don't know if everyone's kind of getting jaded now from these kind of like based on true events style biopics where then somehow Nazis are weaved into it or at the core of the story. But I was pretty surprised by this movie. James, what'd you think of The Order?
Yeah, I absolutely thought it was fantastic. Not one of the best of 2024, but it's one of those movies that's up there that I don't see myself forgetting about too. It's a story I'm not familiar with. It's based on true events that took place in the 80s. And, like a lot of people can say, oh, well, crazy that this is still reminiscent today. I mean, like a lot of things as well. But just seeing the intensity of just this story and just, how hard it was to catch this group of people that, not a lot of people knew about. This is before the internet. So, a lot of crazy research must have had to go down in order to find these people. But also just seeing the level of terrorism that they're able to bring at the time and just like, have people running around on pins and needles and everything, just nervous about going to a porn theater or something like that. Just like really caught me off guard. Like this is a really interesting story that I like highly enjoyed and highly recommend people check it out just because, it's a movie that like can easily, you look at the poster, you might think, oh, this is like a Redbox exclusive. It's not. It's much better than those kind of thrillers that you would see with like Nicolas Cage or John Cusack. As much as I love both of them, it's not one of those style thrillers with them on the cover.
What about Bruce Willis? I felt like he's still releasing movies somehow. I think
was going to say that, but no. At this point, like I think those are just all old movies that are still coming out that he shot, and they were like, just in post-production hell for whatever reason. But yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely thought that this was a sleeper pick of last year. It wasn't a movie that really wound up on my radar till the end when I think I watched like a video where somebody was saying like, oh, these are all the sleeper picks of 2024, and this was definitely up there. This film, it's very grounded in reality, but it does get like pretty, because I feel like you could have done this movie without getting as like kind of brutal as this story takes us. Like you could have done the more reserved version, but I feel like especially some of the action, the violence, and the gore in this movie like definitely it came from a place of like this film was way more real for showing those things, especially some of the deaths in this movie. And then even there's a sequence in this film that really was surprising that I thought was incredible. Was like it's one of the last sequences in the film where there's like a house that's catches fire, and I thought that scene was honestly incredible. It was really well done. And this director Justin Kurzel, I think I've only seen a couple of his movies. He's done I would say a decent amount of film. films, but I've only really seen the Snowtown Murders, and I did appreciate that movie, but it always felt like it was like kind of grounded. Like, I think his films are a little bit more grounded in reality and take that kind of like festival approach. I think it really worked for this one. But if you're gonna have like 13 features, I think like that's hard to be that's your calling card, is like, okay, not like the more fantastic elements, or, you know, usually it's easier for directors that, you know, have more of like a fantastic signature to come out with guns a-blazing, where somebody like this that takes, you know, the more measured approach, it's going to take a little bit longer to get your career off the ground and really get recognized as like a household name.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, doesn't like do any service that I feel like just nobody promoted this movie. I'm not sure who the studio is behind it, but you know,
it's a Vertical.
Vertical.
The only reason I know
course.
is because Vertical, I watched 3 Vertical movies last week.
Oh, really?
Or sorry, tomorrow we're gonna watch another Vertical movie. But it's 3 in 1 week. If you began last week, I started this film, and then I watched Your Monster, which was also a Vertical film, and then we're watching The Damned tomorrow. So that's like also the 3rd Vertical movies. I'm like, I've never heard of this company, and literally 3 in 1 week is kind of crazy.
But all of them feature, though. I haven't seen Your Monster yet. I know it's streaming on Max currently. I'll get around to watching it, but you know, I know it has like I forget her name, but the girl from the Scream reboots,
Melissa Barrera.
Melissa Barrera. What's it called? You know, not necessarily like a bankable star, but someone that is known and easily could have drew an audience if you promoted it through on demand or put it out in the right amount of indie theaters. Whether or not it did have that release, I never saw it, so you know, who's to blame? Not saying it's necessarily Vertical, but you know, that's where all the signs are pointing towards, because this movie had so much potential. I mean, like, you know, we're bringing up Nicholas Hoult, but other cast members, you know, Jude Law. I love seeing Jude Law in these more gritty roles. The only movie I've really seen him in that's like, for like a movie that he's known for, is a movie I saw recently, The Holiday. He's, you know, he's known as like that charming, very good-looking English guy, but you know, when we have movies like this and Black Sea that I've seen more in more recent years, like, you know, he really brings that intense grittiness to a movie that's needed. And you know, I absolutely believed him just being, you know, someone who's just trying to, you know, make amends with his family, but also trying to catch these white supremacists, and works really well within this movie. Then we also have Ty Sheridan, you know, not a huge actor, but like, you know, someone who's still known, as well as a few other familiar faces in the movie.
Definitely, yeah. I do remember this film popping up at one of my local theaters, or I think when it was released, but it was only there for like a week or two. And that movie theater has a lot of screens, so they will get kind of more obscure movies. They also did have Your Monster, but they literally only had it for 2 weeks max, I think. And I think both those weeks there were other big releases where I was like, oh, I'm gonna need to watch this, and then eventually Your Monster's not there anymore. It's not even an option to go see for me. So yeah, like I feel like they've had maybe bad timing windows around the releases last year. I think there was always like, whenever their films are coming out, there's something else that was taking precedence of like, oh, I'd rather see this. Where then there were months where I'm like, the only films are like the same 4 movies, and I'm like, y'all could have released like then maybe. But yeah, I think that Vertical came out swinging with this one. I'm interested to see kind of where Justin Kurzel takes his career. I know that he directed Assassin's Creed. I never saw that movie, but I think that's his biggest budget movie. I know that film was like financially not successful and probably did like kind of stutter his career for a little bit, but I know that he's been releasing these kind of gritty movies since then, and all of them have like usually get some note. I think he did like a Ted Kaczynski movie, and then one other one I can't remember, but Nitram, which is about the first mass shooting in Australia, and that's what got like guns banned essentially. And I always heard good things about that movie, but it's just one of those where I'm like, dude, this seems like it's gonna be a bummer if I watch this, you know, like, so finding the perfect day to watch that's probably gonna be a little bit hard. But yeah, I have to say that for The Order, I felt like this film, as jaded as I am about like these kind of neo-Nazi movies, I feel like especially after something like what's the Daniel Radcliffe Nazi movie again?
Imperium was that one.
Yeah, I feel like Imperium kind of killed that whole genre for me, because I think there was like a couple other Nazi movies at that time. But yeah, I thought that this was really well done. I think Nicholas Hoult and Jude Law kind of bring this intensity to this story. And that final kind of showdown scene, I thought was just incredibly impressive. And yeah, I have to see where this director is going for his next movie, because this was definitely impressive film to release.
Yeah, and whether you know it as Snowtown or the Snowtown Murders, also, I totally forgot about that movie and its existence, but I always remember it kind of resonating with me with just, it's like, you know, that's when I really started to get into like, you know, that mumblecore movement. So like when that movie came out, I was just like, oh, this is the kind of movie I would like to make and stuff. So seeing a movie like this, hopefully, you know, brings out a new like career side for him. And hopefully just more people check this movie out, because I highly recommend it. Yeah, I think it kind of came out around the same time as Rebel Ridge. And, you know, even though they're very different, they have that same vibe of just like, you know, cop grittiness to them. So it just might have been just the wrong time to kind of release it at the wrong time of year. So just, you know, don't let it go over or under your radar just because, you know, similar movies or, you know, there's so many other things on your watch list to check out. This is highly recommended. And, you know, might not win any awards this year, but hopefully it's a movie that people will still talk about and resonates with them. So great way to help support the show. You can rent it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. And also be sure to leave a comment down below. Let us know how you thought about the movie.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below for Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.